so unusual for people to be rude to your face.
Yeah.
We live in the social media era where people are rude to you in the comments.
Oh, yeah.
But when people are rude to you straight to your face, it's so unnerving.
So are you talking about... give me an example, because I think I have an example of this.
I'm teeing you up for your example.
Okay.
We've talked about this before.
We have talked about this before. My most recent example of it was in the doctor's office the other day for my normal, regular annual checkup when she can tell me what new medications I have to take to stay alive and all that and how fat I've gotten. And I'm sitting there in the waiting room, and I go to a large hospital system, their internal medicine department, and it's a big waiting room. There are a lot of places to sit. I'm sitting in there waiting to be called back for my appointment. 10 feet away from me, somebody's sitting there with their phone. This is an adult watching videos on their phone. Volume cranked up. And I'm talking like me, not like me to you, but like me to the wall over there, like 10 feet away, like across the room, cranked up. Like I could hear every single thing that was going on in this video. And I'm like, do you have, this person had apparently zero regard for anyone around them, for any part of their environment.
Now, have you been to a gym lately?
No, I have not been to a gym.
I just started back at a gym.
That sounded really bad. It's not that I don't exercise. I just don't care to go to the gym.
Well, yeah. I just started back at a Planet Fitness after a long time of not going to any gym because I have stuff here. But we decided to go to Planet Fitness so we could get more stuff, and so my wife and middle daughter could go. I walk in the gym, and literally everyone's got some kind of contraption sticking out of their ears.
Okay.
So it's like you don't want to talk to anybody, and I don't think they want to talk to you. So this is like the polar opposite of that. This is like I would like to broadcast whatever cool thing it is that's on my phone to the rest of the world.
Yeah, it's a bizarre phenomenon. And I see this happen. I most often see this happen. You're in maybe you're in a restaurant and somebody's got their kid and their kid's got an iPad, right? And I'm talking like a full-size iPad sitting in a booth with, whatever, Handy Manny just turned up to 11. And everyone in the everybody around can hear it. And it's not like a restaurant is like a quiet place.
No.
We're not trying to read books or anything like that. But for the love of God, why do you think that it's okay to just have a device? This is like bringing your own personal TV to a restaurant and plopping it down on the table and turning it up to 10.
Like we're in Rain Man.
Yeah.
Where he carries his TV around. I feel like we're ripping off our friends Paul and Greeny of Soapbox Lex, just straight ripping off their concept of what grinds your gears.
I'm pretty sure that they've done something about this before, but I mean, do you encounter, because what you're describing at Planet Fitness sounds like a utopia to me.
Well, maybe it is. I don't know. Do I have to talk? Do I want to talk to anybody? Do I walk past the 28-year-old influencer types and they just give you the side eye? Like, why are you here, fatty?
I mean, I guess is it to the point where you're like,
maybe it's just we are this age.
I think maybe it is. Maybe this is just normal to people that are younger, that are younger generations.
The younger generation has grown up. And when I say the younger generation, I mean folks that are like 28, full-blown adults that are like paying their own rent and have a car payment and all that kind of stuff. They have grown up entirely different than anything that we experienced as youth.
Yeah. But what is it about the parents that are, I mean, sometimes I see parents that are like our age or within a decade of us with little kids that have these devices that are blasting. And sometimes they seem to think it's cute. If I had, it's not like we didn't have loud devices available to us when we were kids.
We're deaf because of it.
Right. If I wouldn't, the idea of taking like a personal stereo with me to a restaurant and then just turning my music on full blast. I'm like, this, I would get the dog shit beat out of me.
By your parents.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I
don't know.
I used to sing. This is more about me than anybody else. I used to think the same thing about people that brought babies to restaurants.
Oh no.
I wanted to stand up and scream at them.
I mean, babies make no. That's I know
The crying babies.
the crying baby, and when you're like, all right, look, it's been 20 minutes now. Like, maybe take him outside for a second.
You remember the rude
You
people I said earlier about people being rude to your face? Sometimes I wanted to stand up and look them straight in the eye and be like, enough!
We are just two middle-aged refugees from Generation X.
Man, we grew up in a time that was a lot simpler than it is today.
Could we gamble on sports back then?
No, not really. We did, but not legally. But now?
Now we can, and we can talk about it on a podcast, and we can talk about a lot of other things too.
And we're going to. I'm Lanny.
And I'm Andrew.
And this is Bet Small,
Lose Small. We're getting into the home stretch here of college basketball season. You and I are both UK fans. I'm repping my team today. I'm actually an alumnus.
You are,
of
you're an
UK.
alumnus and you're a current employee
Yeah.
of
But-
the university.
Yeah, so I might have to actually be a little careful when I say. I just
don't-
thought of this. Like,
You're
do
just
I
talking
is
about
this a conflict of
basketball?
interest? Yeah.
No, I don't think you're giving any top secrets.
No,
away.
no. I don't have any top secrets. That's
You
I don't-
definitely
I work
wouldn't
in a
give
whole
them
different
away.
part.
You'd have to investigate yourself.
Absolutely not. But you at least spent some time at UK. So.
I was there for a semester in between, flailing around at EKU and then going back to EKU with my tail tucked firmly between my legs, knowing that I could not win at the University of Kentucky.
That's Eastern Kentucky University in Richmond, Kentucky. For the uninitiated out there.
I grew up 22 miles from the University of Kentucky.
Yeah.
And so I don't know anything else.
Well, and you're and being somebody who grew up in Kentucky, that this is the thing where I grew up in upstate New York and then I went to Kentucky for college. So, this is, I think we've commented on this before, is that what happens with Kentucky basketball in this state, because we don't have any real major professional sports teams. Kentucky men's basketball becomes the pro sport that, like, it's like the Bills in Buffalo. It's like, the Cowboys in Texas. They're the team, right, in Kentucky.
Well, I think it's fair to say that there are three programs, historically speaking. This is not always true for year-over-year performance, but Kansas University or University of Kansas, where Fog Allen and Naismith. The game of basketball has only been around for a little over 100 years. It was invented, I'll have to look, but early 1900s.
Yeah,
Or maybe late 1800s, whatever it is.
sure.
There's a lineage to North Carolina. There's a lineage to Kentucky, and there's a lineage to the University of Kansas.
Yeah.
That are all directly tied to Naismith and Fog Allen.
Just so you don't get in trouble, I think it is actually Kansas University.
Kansas
KU,
University.
because we're UK and they're KU. And then, of course, you've got we're talking about like the like original Blue Bloods here.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
what we're talking about. The original Blue Blood programs. And I think by this point, it's been 40 years now that Duke's been good, 35, 40 years now. I think you can kind of throw Duke into that conversation.
They have become that. They weren't always.
Certainly since the 90s, you can call Duke one. I always, when somebody says, if somebody asks you who are the four real blue bloods of college basketball, it's Duke, it's Kentucky, Duke, Kansas, North Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be fair to say.
Yeah.
But what we have seen the last so many years, and we're going back close to a decade now, with the University of Kentucky, and we've seen North Carolina have its big time ups and downs.
Yeah. Kansas has had some too.
Kansas too.
Yeah. Duke is the only one that's kind of been a little immune to it. They kind of are always in there floating right along. Coach K retired and John Shire came in and like it just was like nothing changed. They've got a great team this year. But yeah, I mean, all programs have their ups and downs, but continue with your point because I think this is exactly the kind of concern that I have here.
So the blue blood nature of Kentucky basketball as I grew up with it, and this is getting back to the late 70s. I don't really remember the 79 team, but I remember those early 80s teams. The Kentucky team that went to the Final Four in 1984, they had a song that was Melvin Turpin and Sam Bowie, among others. We always have expected to go to the NCAA tournament and be some sort of top 3, 4, 5 seed. I remember, I think it was 1987, or give or take, seventh grade year, that Kentucky didn't end up with a high seed, and I was like, "What? The sky is falling."
Kentucky is. I feel like they're the only of the four. If we're gonna just call this group the four major blue bloods in college basketball, Kentucky is. It seems like they're the one of the four where success is not measured in, you had a pretty good year. Success is measured in banners hanging from the rafters, and that is it. And I think the standards are very high here. And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that it is basically the major sports program in the state.
It is the major sports program.
Yeah.
The University of Louisville basketball team has had many great years, but they've never been the standard bearer. They're called Little Brother for a reason, and that's no offense to Louisville fans. It's just the way it is.
No, and Louisville as a city tends to not connect as well. It's always felt in my time here. I've been in Kentucky now for 25 years
plus
30, almost 30 years. Louisville has never felt like it connects with the entire state of Kentucky.
No.
Lexington does, like UK does.
People would cede Louisville to Indiana if they could. That's a stupid thing to say, but
Right.
there's a hatred there's a rivalry and a hatred that, as I've gotten older, has gotten way less for me.
Yeah. But they's city folk up there in Louisville. Is really what it comes down
right.
to. Yeah.
Nobody. I'm not going to say it.
Yeah, it's we don't. I think that kind of covers it.
Okay.
We bring this up because we're in year 2 of Mark Pope as the head coach of Kentucky basketball. It's been a bit of a grind this year, would you say?
That's
how I feel, at least.
Mark Pope has played a really good strength of schedule.
Yes, he has. The SEC has. We're actually in a period of time now where the SEC, in defense of Kentucky, and to put a sort of an underlying theme. There's the one thing to remember underneath all of this is that the SEC is in a 3 or 4 year run as far as basketball, where it is historically great right now. Great basketball. So that notwithstanding,
did the SEC finally catch up to Kentucky? Because Kentucky owned the SEC for decades. Owned it. It was like Kentucky and literally everybody else.
Yes.
And that was when you had a strong Big East. You had conference alignments that you and I would recognize. You had all those schools in the East that didn't play football, but they had great basketball programs. That was their number one basketball program. But now the South has caught up.
Yes. Oh, boy.
Mark Pope was never on anybody's, ooh, let's go get him first.
Exactly.
He was never at the top of the list. So, I guess just so we're clear, the topic of this segment is going to be, what's happened to the blue blood nature of Kentucky basketball. And I think what has happened is John Calipari had a run, an unprecedented run in the history of Kentucky basketball, where he just had the best recruiting class or the top 2 or 3 recruiting class year over year over year over year for years and years and years. He put 40 or 50 guys in the NBA.
He solved the equation of the one and done rule in the one and done the new structure that the NBA set up to
Right.
where you could not come out of high school anymore straight into the NBA. He took advantage of that to now some people would say
Until he didn't.
some people would say that it caught up to him. Some people would say he actually underperformed based on the types of players that he was bringing in for a number of reasons. And the other thing I want to say about Pope, this is not a fire Mark Pope
No.
segment.
We're
either.
not saying any
this
of
is,
that.
This is not even close. In fact, I think that would be one of the dumbest things we could possibly do.
Oh, no, this is not about fire Mark Pope.
No.
This is about what happens to a blue blood school. And we're going to talk about a little bit about football, too. What happens to a blue blood school that isn't a blue blood anymore?
Right.
Or has, the blood is not nearly as blue as it used to be.
Yeah.
And I think for Kentucky basketball, and I'm just going on the records, before COVID hit, 2018-19, they lost in a region final, which means they made the Final Eight.
Mm-hmm.
They lost in a regional semifinal the year before that, lost in a regional final before that, second round before that, national semifinal before that, and they lost the final in 13-14. So there was a lot of losing in there that Kentucky fans would consider losing. But by the time we got to the post-COVID year, when in 2021, Kentucky went 9-16, now that may not be, I'm looking at that, I don't remember them being that bad, but
That was a weird year for a lot of people.
okay.
In fact, you really kind of have to take that out of the equation when you're talking
So
about.
the first year back, 21-22, they went 26-8 and then lost in the first round. They were a 2 seed.
Yeah.
It was a horrific loss.
An awful loss. One of the few 2 seeds at the time.
It almost had never
It
happened.
had almost never happened. Yeah.
It's happened a handful of times, and it was historic.
Right.
It's happened a little more frequently since, still.
Yeah, I think there
There was a 16-1
Yeah.
at one point in time.
Yeah, we're starting to see a little bit more parity in college basketball than we have in past years. But
Well, the next year they come out 22-23, and they go 22-12, which was okay. And they were a 6 seed. They lost in the second round. The next year is a 3 seed. They lost in the first round. So 2 kind of unforgivable losses for Cal.
yeah,
And he ended up going to Arkansas in if you don't leave, we're going to fire you.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'd rather leave than have to take the buyout that I'm owed, because that's not good for anybody. I'm not sure which one it was.
well,
And no one will ever really know.
no one will ever know. I think it was a mutual, hey, we think you should leave.
Do you
and he
remember
was like, you know what? I think I probably should too. So I'll find something and I'll let you. We'll let you all off.
So coming off that, the delusion of Kentucky basketball fans, love them, but sometimes delusional, was, we're going to get somebody that is amazing right off the bat.
Yeah.
And every name that got thrown around was like,
I don't know. Yeah. This happened once before. Now, I was a huge fan of Tubby Smith. I thought Tubby Smith was an excellent coach here. He didn't make enough Final Fours for the fans. He didn't win enough titles for the fans. That there was a stretch of time towards the end of the last basically 8 years of his, or 10, or however long it was he was here. After he won that first title, they didn't make it back to the Final Four, and the whole thing was, oh, it's 10-loss Tubby. We can't keep going along. Now, I would have called him 20-win Tubby, but that's just me.
Well,
He also got really, really close to making a couple other Final Fours. I mean, within a missed call here or there of beating Michigan State to go to a Final Four, of beating Marquette to go to the Final Four. There's the famous game where was it Keith Bogans with the high ankle sprain?
Yeah,
and couldn't guard
the year he got hurt.
Couldn't guard Dwayne Wade in the Final Four in the Elite Eight.
No shame in that, but Bogans being hurt really killed them.
So I mean, there were a lot of things that undid Tubby, but the biggest one being we haven't made a Final Four in a while. So they had a very similar sort of exit strategy with Tubby that they had with Cal, where they said, we think you should leave, and he said, you know what? Yeah, because fuck you guys. I'm actually a good coach. And Tubby still to this day is involved in the community in Lexington, by the way. I don't know if you knew this, but he's been a great guy for this community. But they get rid of him. The next season, I just want to give you a little bit of information here of what the next team did. They went 18-13 the following season.
Yeah, that was Billy Gillespie's first team. This is
Billy Gillespie's first year. Now, I am not in any way going to compare the styles or, let's say, antics of Billy Gillespie to Mark Pope. Mark Pope is a much more
completely different
social character than Billy Gillespie. But when you ride a coach out of town like you did with Tubby, like you did with Coach Cal, and Aaron will argue, look, Cal looked like he was mailing it in for like 5 years, which in some cases I think there's evidence of that. But you got this team that came after Tubby. They went 18-13, finished their season losing in the first round of the SEC tournament and losing in the first round of the NCAA tournament. And then the following season, they went 21 and I think it was 21 and
22 and 14.
22 and 14, made the NIT and lost to UCLA in Lexington at home.
I think they lost to UNLV.
UNLV, sorry.
I was at the game.
You were there? Okay.
I was at the game. It was the last game played in Memorial.
Yeah.
We hadn't played a game in Memorial Coliseum in ever.
Yeah.
And then they had to play one in Memorial Coliseum because they had a conflict, because who knew they were going to be in the freaking NIT?
Well, and this is
and that's the hubris of Kentucky.
It is.
They had booked Rupp Arena.
Right.
They couldn't get out of it.
Right. So, and I bring this up, and this is, again, not to say that Mark Pope should be fired or that he's on his way out or that he's, because Billy Gillespie, regardless, they could have made the tournament that year and gone to the Elite Eight or the Final Four, and Billy Gillespie is probably on his way out of town anyway because of his off-the-court antics.
Billy had some character issues,
yes,
for sure.
But you compare that to this year's team. They are now sitting at 18-10. They're 9-6 in the SEC. They have 3 games left against quad 1 opponents in the SEC. Number 25 Vanderbilt at home, then they're at Texas A&M, and then they're home again for number 7 Florida. We are looking at a situation where we could be 18-13 and going into the SEC tournament at 500 in conference play.
And the Cats are going to need a win or two in the SEC tournament to ensure a berth into the NCAA.
Yeah.
Now, I read Joe Lunardi the other day. He basically said Kentucky feels like a very solid in because they have several very good wins.
I just can't see that, man. They lost by 25 to Vanderbilt. They lost to Missouri by 5. They lost to an Auburn team. They're on a 3-game losing streak where they've lost to Florida at Florida. Not a terrible loss, but then they lost to Georgia by 8 at home. Then they lost at Auburn, who was on, I believe, a 5-game losing streak at that point. That's a bad loss. To say that they're like automatically in, I can't see it because they lose 2 of these next games, and there's all 3 are games that are losable games.
Oh, I think they will lose them all. I don't want to get too bogged down in the minutia of will Kentucky get in the tournament this year. I want a bigger picture focus on there has come a time in college sports where a school like Kentucky despite doing everything it can to raise funds and to pay its players in the era that we are now,
Yeah.
this is not going to be the only institution this happens to.
No.
We just saw Indiana win the college football championship. Indiana has never, I repeat, never been relevant in the college football landscape. Not once.
Not once.
Ever.
Not even a sniff. No.
And they were a very highly regarded basketball team with Bobby Knight. And they are a run-of-the-mill team and have been a run-of-the-mill team for a very long time.
Yes, that's true.
So are we seeing the possibility that Kentucky and a few others are going to slide back toward the competition?
So,
And is there a reason for that?
okay. There's a couple things I want to touch on. First of all, to take this back to what's happening with Kentucky basketball this year, you know, the standard that the fans hold this program to is so high that you're going to see people calling for Mark Pope to be fired if something doesn't turn around. That's part of the problem. The high standard is part of the problem, and that's going to be a problem for any of the blue bloods that, you know, let's say, you know, Duke is having a pretty good run
Sure.
the last few years. Now, I don't know the numbers on what they've spent on bringing players in under the new landscape of college basketball, but they have a couple top 5 picks. They've had top 5, top 10 NBA draft picks the last few years now. They've got another one. Cameron Boozer is most likely going to be, if not a top 3 pick, definitely in the top 5. They're still bringing in the players.
Oh,
Calipari was great at bringing in the players. It just seemed like on the floor it became kind of curious as to how he was using them, whether his offense had gotten stale. But the question is now, does your blue blood status carry any weight anymore? Does it matter that you're Kentucky? Does it matter that you're Duke when if an Indiana or let's take a college basketball program that's similar to Indiana. Let's say, well, South Carolina the other night. We had a near catastrophe against South Carolina basketball the other night where the UK started slow, they were sluggish out of the gate, kind of traded blows back and forth until Kentucky finally pulled away. But South Carolina is not historically a good basketball program whatsoever.
No.
But if they just decided that they wanted to dump a bunch of money into their program and pay players to go there, players are going to take the money where the money is available. And so if somebody decides, you've kind of seen this with Vanderbilt, all of Vanderbilt's athletic program. I mean, you're talking about football. Vanderbilt was considered for a time to be a college football playoff team.
Very competent this year.
For the last 2 years, they started spending money.
Yeah.
So when we talk about the money that's being now the way that the college sports has kind of changed, I do think that it's a little bit different in college football because college football is the only at most schools it's the only sports program that makes money, right?
Well, I mean, the two revenue sports at most universities are football and basketball.
Yeah.
And not every basketball team, I think most of the men's basketball teams make money, and practically all the football teams make money.
So the return on the investment for basketball.
I'm talking Power 5 schools.
Yeah. But the return on investment for basketball is not necessarily going to be as great as for football.
Well, the football thing is weird. Basketball, Kentucky will end up with between 18 and 20 home dates this year. For basketball, I think they had 7 home dates for football. But if you think about the expense, like there are 12 guys on a basketball team. Mm-hmm. So if you do 7 times 12, you get 84 guys on a football team, and that's about the same. So it's 7 times a bigger program.
Yeah.
With a third of the dates.
Yeah.
So.
And a lot more fans coming through the gate too, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, you're filling a football stadium 6 to 8 times a year. That's a lot more fans than you're getting in the door.
Right.
Most basketball. I mean, we have Rupp Arena, so we've got the capacity for what, 22,000
It
people
used
to watch
be
a basketball
24,
game.
but now it's 21, 22.
So it's a little bit different. That's where I think Kentucky is one of the programs that actually makes money. And I don't think there are a lot of basketball programs that make money. I say this to call into question whether number one, whether the UK name and even the names of the Dukes and the Kansases and the North Carolinas, is that going to carry as much weight? Is it going to carry more weight in college basketball because schools are not going to be as willing to invest the money? Whereas like football, you can have a program like Indiana or Vanderbilt just decide we're just going to throw an absolute dump truck full of money at this issue and make this a competitive team. I mean, how much different is it, do you think? Because I think it's significantly different.
I don't think it's an issue of just throwing money at it. Indiana had a really good coach this year, and they invested in older players. Mm-hmm. So there was a strategy involved. It wasn't just, I'm not saying the money is equal everywhere. I'm just saying most of these universities that are playing in Power 5 conferences are all spending significant sums. Yeah. And it's an arms race. Mm-hmm. All of it's an arms race. So, but I think the conditions are right now with the transfers, investing in a certain kind of strategy and paying your guys. So I think that the Blue Bloods are in trouble. That's what I came to say.
Yeah.
I think that the blue blood of athletics, of college athletics, could be in some trouble.
I tend to agree with you, except I think when it comes to basketball, a team like Kentucky that has the history, that has everything, or Duke or North Carolina or whoever, even Michigan. Like Michigan's having a big year this year. Michigan is in the top. They were number one team in the country for a minute until they lost to Duke. I think the big name programs in college basketball will have a little bit easier time, but you do still have to spend the money to get these players. You definitely have to spend the money. And I wonder if some of these programs, and possibly Kentucky in particular, is a little bit behind the curve. As long as Joe Kraft is around, Kentucky is going to have the money. Well, but when you think about who funds your program, Sam Walton and the Walmart family are in Arkansas. That's why John Calipari's there. Well, that's fair. You don't see it necessarily coming in the players yet, though. I mean, he took some guys with him from Kentucky when he left, but there's not like top 5 NBA picks going to Arkansas. See, that's the next question. You've been to some of the SEC towns, right? Yeah. Lexington's nice. It's nice. It's fine. It's a nice enough city. Yeah. It's pretty safe. Mm-hmm. It's in a top 60 media market. Right. Have you been to Starkville? I have not been to Starkville. I know it's, we'll say it's a college town only, maybe. I don't know. Right. It's in the middle of nowhere. You've been to Nashville. I've been to Nashville. I've been to Austin. Been to Jacksonville. There are places that are maybe more desirable. Arizona State is having kind of an upswing of their athletic programs right now. Arizona State is, notoriously a hell of a party school. Right? So I guess my point is Lexington was never a big destination. No more than Arkansas or someplace like that. But we still got like Karl Anthony Towns to come here, some New York guys, and Jamal Mashburn came here. Yeah. But I think that luster is wearing off. See, I think so too, but it's a problem that you should be able to. It's a problem that you should be able to fix if you commit to saying we can't rely on the logo. I think that's the thing. You cannot rely on tradition anymore to bring people to your university. Yeah. There's got to be a different reason. And I think Cal kind of locked into that. He was like, it's not about
playing for the University of Kentucky because that's not a prestige like it used to be, but it is about getting the NBA, and I can get you the NBA. That was a secret he kind of unlocked.
Yeah.
So Mark Pope is going to have to figure out what secret he can unlock. But it might be, we'll pay you the most money.
I think it is ultimately gonna, because I think Mark Pope is a fine coach. There are some times when I'm like, maybe you shouldn't rely so heavily on the three when your team is shooting sub 30% from three. Maybe it's injuries. I don't know. We've had a couple major, like pretty serious talents on our team on UK this year go down with season-ending injuries. But I think it's going to start higher than that. I think college programs, to maintain their status, if you've already got a blue blood status in a sport, you're going to have to build essentially a professional level program. You need
Correct.
a general manager. You need they already have some of these things.
Absolutely do.
A lot of programs already had these things, but you've got to figure out how to be competitive financially, because there are enough kids now that are like, I don't need to go prepare for the NBA in college. What I need to do is go and get the most money that I can for a year before I go to the NBA. Or I need to go to a place where I'm going to be able to play for 4 years and make as much money as possible and be a star. That's another thing. Some of the, you've seen with the injuries this year, we're lacking a little bit of depth. Maybe some of those players that would have normally come to Kentucky because it's Kentucky are now going to a smaller school where they're just getting paid more because there they can be a star.
They're the star. Let's step away from that for just a moment.
Okay.
And I want to ask you, do you miss the other system? Do you miss a system where the players were not getting paid and it was still some sort of facade of amateur basketball?
Well, the facade of amateurism in college sports has been a farce for a long time, for decades, I would say. I mean,
we saw blue chips. That wasn't like art imitating life.
No, it was not. That
was a reflection of what was real.
Exactly. I think, do I miss the old system? I miss the time when guys would come to your college basketball program and they'd be there for 2, 3, 4 years before they moved on. I don't miss the period I don't miss the old model in the sense that I've always felt like in an industry, in a system that's generating billions and billions of dollars in revenue off of these players, and we say kids, but I mean they're adults. They're
adults, but they're young adults.
They've been treated now for a long time, though. They've been treated like adults. Basically, the big time recruits, the big time talents in college in basketball are treated as adults, as commodities from freshman year of high school, sometimes earlier. So to see them go to college and then get in trouble for accepting a bagel from somebody, or
or their coach moves on a couple of different times with a contract that is basically ignored by everybody.
Exactly. I don't miss that part. I think it's perfectly fair that all these players get paid. I think we need more guardrails, and the NCAA has done an absolutely miserable job of putting any, like, they don't. There's no, and even the court system has gone against the NCAA in a number of ways lately. There's got to be some kind of better system to make it so that it isn't just about money.
Well, just never forget, the NCAA is made up of its members.
Right.
So just keep that in mind.
And once one of its members goes against it, it only takes one brick falling out for the wall to come down.
I think that's a fair statement. I'll just say this. It has always been kind of obtuse. And now the NCAA tournament, just the tournament, that we're going to have some prop bets and some. We're not going to handicap like we're smart, like we're sharps, but we're going to look at some bets that we think we can win with, and some teams that we can historically bet against.
Yeah.
I'm looking at you, Houston Cougars and Kelvin Sampson.
Hey, the Johnnies are back, man. The Johnnies.
That's right. But it was always kind of obtuse that a $900 million tournament netted the players not a single dollar more.
Exactly. That's exactly the problem that existed going back to when we started with TV deals, and that's 25, 30 years ago now.
So, as cat fans, I guess we're rooting for the cats.
Oh, we're always
But we're
rooting for
real-
the cats. Don't get me wrong.
We're realistic, though. I think you and I are pretty realistic. Like,
Yeah.
do we want them to win? Yes. Are we going to be heartbroken and sad for a week if they lose? Not now.
No, it's expected at this. I don't expect a deep run, and I'm pretty sure we'll get into that once we get into tournament time and we're breaking down our brackets.
Yes.
All right.
All right. When we come back, we have later on in the podcast, we're going to talk some comments. And we've got some other stuff we're going to talk about.
Do we? I don't remember.
What
Let's
was the
take a break.
second segment?
Let's take a break and we'll figure it out.
All right. Bye. Bye.
We'll do the. You want to do like a sort of a best thing, worst thing segment? We like to do those from time to time. Best thing, worst thing we've seen.
I know the worst thing I saw this week. Well, it was last week, but I put this on Facebook. I had a long rant about it. I had some folks come back and give me a little trouble for it, but that's okay. The worst thing I've seen in media in quite some time was season 2, episode 9 of Landman.
Oh, okay.
I would count myself a fan of the show, I guess, but it makes me, I get really aggravated when a show makes me suspend my disbelief, like I'm hanging over a very tall building. Like when my belief in reality is so suspended that it's being tasked to its nth degree.
So give. I want you to give me an example of what you're talking about here. But for the folks listening at home, I mean nobody's listening to this, but the Landman was one of our favorite. Season 1 was one of my favorites.
All right, so
you got into it after me.
yeah, I got into it after you, and I've watched season 1 and I've completed season 2.
Okay, I started season 2, 4 episodes in. I was like, this has gone way too far off the rails for me.
I can't remember where it was in season 2 this happened, but basically Billy Bob Thornton's character, Tommy Norris, is kidnapped by this cartel.
Spoiler alerts for anybody that hasn't watched it.
Spoilers incoming.
Yeah.
Tommy Norris is kidnapped by this cartel. In the midst of being kidnapped, he has a burlap bag or some sort of bag put over his head. They dump gasoline on him. They hit him in the face with a fatal blow of like an iron pipe or something, a hammer iron pipe. Mm-hmm. They nail a nail into his femur.
Okay. This is at the end of season 1, though.
Is that the end of season 1?
I think it is,
okay.
Because I remember this.
All this happens in one sitting.
Yeah.
And then Andy Garcia's character comes and rescues him, and he tells him he owes him his life. But Tommy Norris, Billy Bob, played by Billy Bob Thornton, who I'm a huge fan of.
Billy Bob, this is peak Billy Bob.
Yeah,
Thornton.
this
really
was the
good.
character written for Billy Bob Thornton. He walks away from this situation after with the nail in the leg, and then he lights up a cigarette. So I'm just like, while I want to believe that the depth of pain tolerance for Tommy Norris is so great that he could withstand all of this, I don't.
Well, Tommy Norris Billy Bob is just a better man than you and I.
I guess, but Billy Bob is also 160 pounds, soaking wet, skinny little guy.
Yeah, but he's from Texas, man. Texas, they're tougher in Texas.
This is on top of the fact that at some point in season 1, after an injury to his pinky finger, cuts the end of it off. No anesthesia. Yeah. No bandage, no nothing, for a time inconvenience.
Yeah, it's a Ronnie Lott situation.
So anyway,
just cut it right off.
We get to episode 9, and again, spoilers incoming here. Spoilers incoming. We get to episode 9. And
Of
this is-
season 2, are we talking? Are we
of
in season
season
2
2.
now? Okay.
and they have Ainsley, the daughter, the hot daughter,
Ugh. Okay.
who's never met a blonde stereotype she couldn't be.
One of the most insufferable characters I've seen on a TV series in a long time. Second only maybe to the mom, who is played by
Allie Larder.
Allie Larder. Okay.
Angela.
Allie Larder, who I like a lot of stuff that Allie Larder.
She's been great.
This mother-daughter combo they are absolutely insufferable, and they just keep getting worse as the series goes along.
So Ainsley is going to a cheer camp. She's going to this college. I think it's TCU, but I can't be sure. I think it's TCU. Anyway, she gets a roommate that is a sports trainer. This is obviously a lesbian or non-binary woman. She has a ferret. She requires quiet time. She is just written as the most stereotypical leftist butchy lesbian of all time.
She's a lib. She's a caricature of a lib, is essentially.
Completely.
Yeah.
In that same episode, the mom basically comes to rescue her daughter by putting her up in this super swanky hotel for a week. That's her answer to everything. And her baby is moving out, so she must go on a $10,000 shopping spree. And she must fly in a private plane. The things that Taylor Sheridan, and I'm not saying he hasn't done good work, but the things that Taylor Sheridan has done to the female characters in this particular arc of this show is unforgivable. Absolutely unforgivable.
This is where I was getting. This is why I've only made it through about 4 episodes of the second season so far, because it was good in the first season. There was some suspension of disbelief that had to be done, but it became a grind for me. I was like, even in the most broad interpretation of these characters, these are outlandish character arcs that they're putting out.
Yeah. I hate watched episode 10, and I only hate watched it because I was basically guilted into it by some of my wife's English teacher pals on Facebook, where they were like, there's a redemption arc in the last episode. So I go into this last episode and I'm looking for this massive redemption arc. Okay. It is a 4 or 5 minute scene where these dumbass boys are making fun of this sports trainer woman that is supposed to be Ainsley's roommate. And she goes over and takes up for her. And this is after the woman says her ankles are weak. We need to tape them up. It's like Taylor Sheridan put a stamp on this thing and mailed it.
Oh, yeah.
Here's
how we make up for the last 9 episodes of just absolute slop.
Yeah.
Sloppy writing.
Of badly portraying women.
The first 4 episodes could have been like 2 episodes was my impression of it.
And what they've done with Demi Moore's character Cammie is awful.
Yeah. I know it's where I am right now. It's certainly not trending in the right direction.
No, it doesn't get any better.
And look, Taylor Sheridan has written a lot of material, a lot of highly regarded material in the last several years.
I think a lot of people like Yellowstone. Yeah. I've seen some of it. I really like Kevin Costner. Mm-hmm. I think Tulsa King is well respected. I think Mayor of Kingstown is well respected. That's Jeremy Renner in Mayor of Kingstown, and it's of course Sylvester Stallone in Tulsa King.
There's another series coming out shortly that's part of the Yellowstone universe as well. So, but it's starting to look in Landman as though maybe Taylor Sheridan can't write like 9 consecutive series at once.
Well, I think
keep them all.
I think that might be
completely off the tracks.
That might be part of the issue. Hell or High Water. I don't know if you saw that or not.
I haven't seen that yet.
All right, that is Chris Pine and the dude.
Oh, yeah, the dude. the Jeffrey Lebowski.
Yes. Yeah. Jeff Bridges.
Jeff Bridges. Yeah. Yeah.
I actually had.
Man, that's terrible.
I knew who it was.
It's like almost, it's after 9 here. I'm getting a little punchy.
Well, Hell or High Water is a really well done movie.
Okay.
And it's the characters are complex. The scenes have depth. The characters have depth, and it was well done.
Okay.
So to see this kind of slop out of a writer of this show is disheartening.
Yeah. Well, they also bend over backwards to how's the most diplomatic way for me to say this? Make sure that they represent the views of the Texas oil industry as well as possible.
Yeah, I think
in the most flattering light.
One of the things that I took away from that was the he was explaining in one scene, and Billy Bob, there could not be another actor that does this character nearly as well, I don't think. Because it's who I think Billy Bob is as a person, and I know it's not. Billy Bob's way weirder than this guy.
Oh, by leaps and bounds.
But Billy Bob can do this kind of character, this matter of fact kind of plain speak, and it's perfect for him. Mm-hmm. He was talking about the oil industry and how much supply is left, and it got me to thinking, like, we're in the electric age, so of all the things that have come since electricity, MRI machines, all those kinds of things.
Yeah.
But the world has run on oil for since the late 1800s. Mm-hmm. He's like, we still have 180 years supply left. And I was just like, man, are we living in this very tiny period of time where we have electric and oil, and whatever comes after that might be dystopian, might actually be dystopian.
Sure. Yeah.
This might be the greatest time to be alive.
Yeah. It's a pretty narrow slice of time when you lay it down across the entire history timeline of civilization, I suppose,
or human beings, or even of the earth.
Sure, yeah.
But yeah, it was that was like, okay, I get that, but the way they paint the oil business is like nicer than it probably should be.
Yes, well, but they do that at the same time that you have, he also does get kidnapped and has gasoline dumped over a burlap sack on his head and a nail driven into his femur, mostly because the oil industry is conflicting with the interests of
a drug cartel. Right. So, and the overarching point that Billy Bob makes that I do find true, but that does not mean you get to do whatever you want, is the world runs on oil and it's coming out of the ground one way or the other.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'll make it through. I'll make it through these last 6 episodes at some point. I can't make any promises.
You gotta hate watch it.
I guess I do.
I did see Begonia.
Did you? You watched the whole thing?
I watched Begonia
all the way through, not in multiple sessions.
No,
did we talk about your Sinners experience on the pod? Did we do that last week?
We've talked a little bit about it. I've only made it halfway through Sinners.
I still take issue with you watching a movie like Sinners in multiple settings. It's not a fucking miniseries, man.
I know,
but let's go.
I watched it on the treadmill.
Okay, well, let's get to Begonia, because that was one of my favorite movies this year.
Okay. Spoiler alerts.
Okay, yeah. If
incoming.
Begonia's been out since October of last year. So if you haven't watched it, skip ahead probably until you don't hear any mentions. Actually, if you're watching on video or whatever, skip ahead until, because we're going to read comments at the end of this. Skip ahead to the last segment.
Okay, so.
Continue, because there's a major... This is a major spoiler alert if you have not seen this movie.
So like in Sinners, where we have this well-crafted, beautifully shot redemption story of 2 young black men who have left their small southern backwards-ass town.
In Sinners, not in Begonia.
In Sinners. Yeah. Gone to Chicago, and now they've come back. Then vampires. In Begonia... Mm-hmm. It is a kidnapping story that is then aliens.
Okay. But you have to admit, as you're watching this movie, tell me the how your view of the movie changed, because I know I was sitting there and I was going, I think I see what's going on, but I think there's also a chance that these two crazy dudes are right.
I never,
and it gets to the end and you're like,
maybe I knew they were
holy
right.
shit.
So this is another one of this is the third in a trilogy of political commentary kind of films.
Okay, yeah.
So this is Begonia is a political commentary.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
So we had 2 years ago we had Don't Look Up, which was the Leo DiCaprio movie with several others. It was Jennifer Lawrence too, where basically it was like, here are all the facts, but we're going to ignore them because it's 2023 and that's what we do.
Because we just don't like what these facts are
Correct.
pointing to. Yeah.
In 2024, the movie was Civil War, which was basically a very Trumpian president has caused a literal civil war in the United States, and it's told from the point of view of journalists documenting this war.
Okay.
It also has Jesse Plemons in it.
Yes, that's true.
So we get to 2025 and we have one battle after another, which is a very political commentary with a backslap for everybody. And we have Begonia, which is a commentary on the conspiracy theorists of the world.
Okay.
And it has a little bit of a backslap for the people that look at conspiracy theorists like they're kooks. Because, spoiler, at the end of this movie, the conspiracy theorists, after castrating themselves chemically and doing all these kinds of crazy things, they're actually right.
Yes. Now, you left out Eddington, which I think is actually...
And Eddington, too.
Eddington, I think, is more of a parallel to Begonia than any of those other ones that you mentioned. Because it has the same sort of effect where you get to the end and you're like, holy shit, like, there really was some crazy shit going on behind the scenes here that created all of the conflict that existed throughout the movie.
I like all of those films because they have taken the world we live in 2025 and 2026 now.
Yeah.
And they are reflecting it back at you in a way that's really pretty easy to understand as long as you can keep up with what's happening.
It's holding up a funhouse mirror to everything that's going on in society and specifically in this country, but the world in general, and also, you know, everything that's going on, everything that's happening with social media and having such an influence over all of that. But you haven't really said what you think of Begonia as a movie. Did you like the movie?
If it had been, I would have liked it just as much if it had been just a straight kidnapping. These guys are crazy cultist, conspiracy guys, and somehow the lead female character talks her way out of it because she's just such a badass and just fucks with these guys the whole time.
Yeah.
I would have been just fine with that. And that was kind of what it looks like for the first 3/4 of the movie. That's really what it looks like.
Yeah.
And then the alien part is just like the tee-hee at the end. It's like, ha, we got you.
I recommended this movie to you very highly.
Yeah.
And I knew that because I know that you don't enjoy the sci-fi aspect of things as much as I do.
No,
I thought it was hilarious. When she finds,
it was funny.
And it started to turn for me when she found this is where and by the way, Emma Stone is an absolute, I mean, this is one of the best performances I've seen from an actor this year.
Talk about range.
She is tremendous.
So is Jesse Plemons.
Jesse Plemons is incredible. The kid that plays the cousin, who's actually he's an autist. He's an actor who is actually on the autism spectrum. Yeah, he's fantastic as well.
This is his first film.
Yeah. When she finds that hidden room with all of the different, it turns out that Jesse Plemons and his
he is a serial killer.
Look that guy up, because I want to give proper credit to the actor that played the supporting brother,
Aiden Delbus.
Okay,
plays Donnie.
Donnie. When she finds that room where it turns out he's been doing like basically torture and medical experiments on other people, trying to figure out if they are also aliens. Andromedans is what they call them. She starts looking through, and she sees all of his conspiracy stuff that he's got. He's built a model of this ship that turns out to be eerily similar to the ship that they're actually on.
Pretty accurate.
What it seems like at the time is that she has taken all this, and because she's this brilliant businesswoman who's been trained, obviously has had training in what to do in a hostage scenario, you think for a second that she's actually crafted, okay, I've got this way to get out of it. I've just got to play into what they think. I can take all this information that I'm seeing here about all this stuff that he's done, and I can craft a story that's going to get me out of here and get me to safety, which it does, except that then she also goes up to said ship.
Yeah.
And decides to wipe out all of the humans. It's unbelievable. And I loved that aspect of it, because honestly, at my core, I'm a little bit of a sucker for a good conspiracy, like a good, like, crazy sci-fi conspiracy like that. Not some of the, there's some conspiracy theories that I'm like, settle down. But this kind of thing, it was right up my alley. I knew you'd have a little bit of trouble with it, because I know the kind of movies that you like and the things that will turn you off. But I
laughed at the end, because that was the proper response.
I did too. I thought it was funny, and it was a surprise, even though it wasn't kind of surprise.
It was a little like AI in that it was 5 minutes too long.
Yeah.
I didn't need all the detail at the end. If they had left it at, she went to her ship and
she's gone, and then they just left it there.
Yeah, that would have been just as fine with me.
Yeah,
but
then they had to go into exterminating the entire human race.
Right. That was like,
I don't know.
That was when I laughed the hardest. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. If we haven't spoiled it for you already, it's still a good movie. I still went back and watched it.
Oh yeah, it's worth a watch.
It is.
If you're into film, man, it's done well.
It's really well done, and the film work that's the other thing. The film work. Remember, I told you it's shot in 4:3.
It's
right?
shot in 3:2.
3:2. Okay.
It looks like your old TV.
It does. It looks old. It looks kind of almost timeless.
Yeah, it looks like it's not as wide as your typical movie screen.
It's not a wide screen. Yeah, it was not made for like IMAX or something like that.
No,
it was made to look kind of low budget, which I appreciated too.
All right, let's wrap this. We'll come back. Let's read some comments.
You want to read some comments?
Let's read some
This
comments.
was one of my favorites.
All right.
Let's start with some tough love, all right? Ready for this? Here goes. You two suck. Period.
Yeah, you guys fucking suck at your job. I'm gonna come down there and beat the fuck out of you, you fucking stupid bitch. You suck!
What happened? You are looking so sad and bad.
Get ready. You better start stretching. I'm gonna fucking wear you out, dumbass.
We don't know how he feels about our work.
Oh, no. Oh, God. Oh,
I would say it's probably going to be one of our favorite returning segments as we go through this podcast journey of ours, is reading comments.
Reading some of the comments.
Reading the comments on our videos, mostly our shorts. That's the only way that anybody seems to watch a podcast of our size anymore. So I went back and grabbed a few things that, if you want to look up some stuff, I only go through TikTok, because that's where we get the most people talking for whatever reason. We had a lot of comments on our take on the Bad Bunny Super Bowl halftime. Now, if you remember, we both were kind of like, it was fine. It wasn't really for me. I didn't necessarily dislike it, but it was fine. It was on. I wasn't upset about it.
No, we didn't turn the channel because we were mad that the guy was speaking Spanish.
I was, yeah, right. I was pleasantly surprised. I thought we would get a lot of flack for that.
Okay.
I was pleasantly surprised at how many people actually had things like, here's one person. This is probably the best take I've seen on this. It's okay they didn't like it. They knew it wasn't for them, and they knew that they had their time, and the NFL has them. This is really our point, you know?
You're right.
We also had, let's see, halftime show wasn't aimed at me. This is from Fabs with 3 Z's. He says, yeah, the halftime show wasn't aimed at me, and my wife and kids really enjoyed the halftime show. So win-win. You know, that's kind of the whole point there. But I'm trying to find one here. Let's see, because we had a couple that were like, you know what? It's not your world. It's bigger than you. I'm not even a Bad Bunny fan in particular, and but he fought hate and division with love and unity. And I'm like, we probably could have been a little more clear in some of our.
Sometimes the short doesn't get the entirety of the meaning. Like we basically said, hey,
Yeah.
that halftime show wasn't for us.
Right.
I wasn't particularly a fan of it because, you know, it's not aimed at me. It's like, you know,
Yeah.
trying to play Lawrence Welk for me when I was a kid. Like,
Exactly.
I wouldn't have gotten it.
Yeah. So, you know, that one, I thought I was surprised at that one. I did have to save this one because it made me laugh a little bit. Josh Simank, I'm not going to try to say that last name again. He said, I'm sorry, I'm not the fashion police, but something about tucking your ears into your ball cap is wild. I didn't hear a word you said. This was on the episode after the Super Bowl where you'd lost the you lost the bet.
I'm still awaiting the new Bills hat.
I think I'm gonna save that for maybe AFC NFC previews in the
But
fall.
yeah, essentially the hat.
Yeah,
I don't know if you can tell. Andrew has a giant melon,
it's huge noggin on this
and
guy.
had I left it on top of my ears, it would look like this.
Yeah, it's like my head is like a golf ball on a tee, and you put it on at first, and your ears were doing this, and I was like, God, I hope he leaves it like that.
Oh God.
And then he did. And then
It was just as bad with it over
Yeah.
my ears too.
Yeah.
So
We had a take on the Browns and Kevin Stefanski getting fired by the Browns. That some people were not super happy with it. One guy, Jerry from Perry, Stefanski was also worst coach of the year 4 times. They just don't have an award for that.
what is the worst coach of the year?
I don't know. I couldn't figure that out.
Shut up, Jerry.
Yeah, and he said, and then there was another guy, Dustin Freeman too, said, didn't he have Baker Mayfield? I'm like, well, yeah, he did, and this kind of supports our point because he had Baker Mayfield. Things were going pretty well with Baker Mayfield, and then ownership came in and said, you know what? How about Deshaun Watson? How'd you feel about that? And Stefanski's like, well, you know, I like having a job, so I'm not gonna, you know, tell them no. So he just kind of had to deal with shoving Baker Mayfield out the door and
they
bringing in
gave-
Watson.
They gave Deshaun Watson a fully guaranteed contract.
Yeah.
That was the most Browns thing that they've ever done.
Somebody said, let's see, no one said, is it Sports Talk 101 to trash the Browns? Like anyone doesn't realize it.
Yes.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. That's just something everybody does.
It's the lowest of low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
When you get to be a stereotype, there's a reason.
Yep. Someone named Trifecta, I'm not even sure I understand this comment, said a loser mentality, eye roll emoji, only from beta males. Do you want to unpack that for a second? I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, let's unpack it.
Beta males?
There's
I
been
don't
this
know.
thing. It's come from one particular ideology that beta males or beta cucks, as they like to use that term, are somehow lesser individuals because they have empathy or something. So
Yeah, I mean, we should all go
Whatever.
back to, I think we probably should at some point all go back to clubbing women over the head and dragging them into a cave. You think that?
I get, yeah.
Would that make me alpha?
I think.
You think that would get? You think that would get us there?
Can you bench 300 pounds?
I mean, no, but I can swing a club.
Right. This talk about beta male.
I know.
Shut up.
I don't even really understand. I don't even understand what that meant. We had a lot of people that were interested in the in us talking about being able to throw a football 30 yards.
Oh, that is yet to be proven.
This is going to
Conclusive.
happen.
Yeah.
This is going to happen
as the weather warms.
when the weather warms up. When we got a little bit more space to fill. It's probably going to be after tournament time. Once we get past maybe the NBA finals, maybe as a lead into football season next year. But
it could be.
We're going to try this. Okay. Now somebody took issue. Oh, I didn't. I cut off the name here. This user said, "Did you just say from home to second is 90 feet when you knew exactly 60 feet 6 inches is mound to home, but didn't have a clue home to first is 90 feet?" Now,
No.
no.
The base paths are 90 feet. I can't do the geometry from home to second,
Listen, guys,
which is like 122
Yeah.
feet or something.
I'm going to talk straight to the users here. We don't do a ton of prep for this show. When we get into a conversation like that, it is completely off the cuff. And he could have said home to second was 160 yards, and I would have been like, yeah, it sounds about right.
It's close.
So it's close enough. Don't hold us to everything. This is why we do comments. This is why we have another segment called corrections. that we do
corrections.
from time to time. Because honestly, we could do an entire episode every month of just corrections on dumb shit that we've said.
Oh yeah, the fact I think I looked it up already that most men's basketball teams do make money.
Yeah, that's gonna. Yeah, I'm gonna get some shit on that.
Gonna get
one.
roasted.
I said earlier after we got done with that first segment, I was like, I don't know how much of that we're gonna be able to use because I think I might sound like an idiot, like I'm 5 years behind the times trying to talk about it.
I think we're trying to talk around it. Something that we're not. I mean, obviously we're not experts on everything that we cover here, but I think we have enough general knowledge to talk with some degree of certainty. That one was like. I don't know that I've been able to pin down exactly what I'm trying to say, other than blue blood college sports teams are on the wane.
Yeah, or at least they need to figure out
They're going to have to figure
how
out
to keep themselves relevant in an era where everybody can pay to get into the blue blood conversation.
There you go.
Yeah, we'll go back on that one. We'll go back to that one in, next week. Here's Adam. Also comments on the football throwing post.
Is this your brother or no?
No, this does not appear to be my brother, although it does not have a picture to go along with the profile. Most people don't know how to throw a football, period. Throwing a football 30 yards is nothing if you've got decent mechanics and step into the throw. And immediately after that, somebody called Down by the River said, back in 84, I could throw a football a quarter mile.
Which is a reference to Napoleon Dynamite.
I'm really excited to find out how this is going to turn out.
What would you put me being able to throw a football 30 yards? What's the is it a minus number? Is it a plus?
It's plus for both of us.
Oh, it's a
if
plus.
I'm handicapping it, it's plus. Yeah.
I want
right now.
I want
it's
action
plus.
on that.
30 yards. I'm telling you, 30 yards with a full size football. We do not have NFL quarterback size hands either, so that could get a little bit interesting.
That's part of the problem.
Yeah.
You don't realize how big those footballs are until you hold one.
Somebody said meh. Said, I mean, if you're an athlete and you can't throw a football from home to first base, you're not an athlete, dude. And let me tell you, we are not athletes.
Not anymore.
Let's see.
The best we ever did was high school something or other.
Yeah. Let's see if we've got another couple here. There was a guy named Robert Rose who really went off on the fact that we liked the idea of Stafford winning MVP over Drake May. And that segment was immediately before Drake May laid an absolute stinky, rotten egg in the Super Bowl.
I just want to...
And actually throughout the playoffs. I mean, this was in the midst of
a historically bad
playoffs.
Just a quick reminder, who won the MVP?
Matt Stafford. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I was just saying.
Just checking.
Yep. Well, he says, he's got to completely omit the fact that Stafford has not one but two Hall of Fame receivers, while Demeaning May because of the teams he's played against is such negligence. No, it isn't, man. It isn't.
No, it's just a fact you don't like.
Stafford played a more difficult thing. This guy also said something about Stafford padding his touchdown totals with 1-yard touchdown passes. Do you know how much more difficult it is to throw a 1-yard touchdown pass than it is like a 20-yard touchdown pass?
Way
Because
more.
You got all the defense is crammed into 11 yards to cover. You don't have the depth. It's much more difficult. So everybody needs to just get out of here with that shit. Stafford was the MVP, and that was the right call.
We were right.
Yeah. Let's see here. We've got a couple other.
Let's wrap it up.
You want to wrap it up here?
One more.
Okay. Let me find one. Let me find a good one here.
Are any of them good?
No, not really.
Some of them are. I was talking the other day about keyboard warriors, and the fact that if you have a face-to-face meeting, sometimes it takes the keyboard warrior out of them, and all of a sudden you're dealing with a person instead of somebody that you can ridicule anonymously. Mm-hmm. It's interesting.
Yeah. I think we can wrap. I mean, we've got a couple others. There's some here that I screenshotted. I'm not even really sure why. Yeah, I mean,
but
let's just wrap it.
I'll say, if you want to leave us comments, we love to get them. And there's a chance that if you make a really shitty comment, we're going to read it on the air.
It's fantastic.
Please,
there's nothing I'm more excited about than when those shorts start going up.
The negative comments.
And the comments start rolling. And I'm like, oh, we got comments. I'm so excited. I was actually a little disappointed we didn't get more negative comments on our Super Bowl take. I was sure we were going to get something thrown in our faces about that.
I went back. I was doing a football game a couple years back, and I went back and looked at the comments, and one of them was worst announcers ever.
That's great. I like the guys. Now, there was another guy, and I didn't capture it here. I will say this. Somebody suggested that there be that our takes were bad, and that there should be tariffs on podcasting equipment. Now look, there's one thing I will get annoyed with in comments is when you make one of the laziest comments available, which is your takes suck. Stop doing your podcast.
Yeah, don't have a mic.
Like, come
anybody
on, guys.
can buy a microphone.
There are no circumstances under which that is going to be an original comment. Okay, so do better, haters. Give us something that we can work with, because that's hot trash, man. We know that
it's lame.
Yeah, we know that we just happen to have podcast gear, and that we're publishing stuff like this.
All right, find us on Spotify, Instagram, YouTube,
Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, TikTok, X, Twitter.
Find us.
What else?
Leave us some comments.
Yep.
Watch our shorts. Subscribe to our podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
Facebook, Bet Small, Lose Small, and betsmalllosesmall@gmail.com if you'd like to email us.
We'll see you next week.